My parents took my birthday money and lied Grandma only sent $50. Then I revealed the forged signature, froze the trust, and walked away with my life back. My name is Caleb. I am 21. I work nights as a waiter at a mid-price restaurant off the highway, the kind with laminated menus and a birthday song that makes your ears ring. I am the middle kid, not the golden one, not the disaster. I am the fill-in, the one who runs to the store, the one who knows where the light bulbs are, the one who gets told you are so reliable, like it is a compliment and not a leash. We live in a small town that runs on favors and old gossip. My dad sells used cars and always has a deal for someone else's kid. My mom keeps notes on who brought what to church potlucks and who did not. My older brother Mason is the star. Big smile, louder laugh, somehow always center stage. My little sister Ivy is the Project Drama Club. Anxious, sensitive, needs careful handling. I am the background. I show up. I carry chairs. I take photos nobody ever prints. There is one person who has never treated me like a shadow. My grandma. She is the reason our family pretends to be polite. She is the one with money, not lottery money. Old doctor money. My grandpa was the town physician for 40 years and left a trust when he died. Grandma does not flash it, but everyone knows the trust pays for things. College, braces, down payments. It is the invisible hand that keeps our family from falling apart and the visible hook my parents keep dangling in front of us. At work, people think I am cheerful. I am mostly. You have to be when you are moving plates and memorizing orders. But on the night I turned 21, I went home after a double shift, and there was a sheet cake on the counter and a bunch of plastic forks in a mug. Surprise, Mom said like she had been planning it for months. Dad clapped me on the shoulder. Mason took a selfie of all of us and tagged it family time with a fire emoji. Ivy sang off-key on purpose to be cute. We did the candles. We cut the cake. I made a wish that did not make sense even to me. Then Dad reached into his pocket, pulled out a folded bill, and slid it across the table like a hotel tip. Your grandma sent this for you, he said. It was $50. $50? I said before I could stop myself. Mom smiled tight. Do not be ungrateful, Caleb. I put the bill in my wallet, said thank you, and tried to swallow the weird taste in my mouth. A month later, Grandma came to visit. We were sitting at the same table, cake crumbs still in the grooves of the wood. She leaned her cane against her chair, took my hand, and said, soft but clear, did you get the $10,000 I sent for your birthday? I blinked. I only got $50. Grandma's face changed. She slammed her palm on the table so hard the forks rattled. What? She shouted, voice ringing down the hallway. What did they give you? Mom's smile cracked. Dad looked at the ceiling. Mason said, whoa. And that is when everything started unraveling. The thing about being the background kid is you start believing you are lucky to get scraps. When I was 12, Mason got braces and a weekend trip to the beach because confidence matters. When I chipped a tooth on the church basketball court, Mom said, we will smooth it out when we can. When I was 15, I got a job busting tables and discovered tips. Suddenly, my money was not theoretical. It was crumpled bills with ketchup smell. Dad would see the roll in my pocket and say, proud of you, son? Then ask, you mind covering gas? Things are tight. I minded, but I handed it over. Family helps family, Mom would say. Translation, Caleb helps. Mason had a list of needs that sounded like wants: new cleats, better phone, graduation trip, networking suit. Ivy needed therapy, which she actually did, and I never complained about that. But somehow my tips ended up as co-pays and parking money for Mom. It was not once, it was a pattern. I kept a note on my phone. $25 gas, $40 Ivy's appointment, $60 Mason emergency, $120 will repay Friday. The Friday that never arrived. I stopped tracking at $2,380 because seeing the totals made me feel stupid. Grandma tried to keep things fair using the trust. She gave each grandkid a number and told us, there is a portion for school or trade, a portion for first car, a portion for your 21st. It was not unlimited, it was structured. Grandpa was careful. Structured was his favorite word. But my parents treated the trust like a faucet they could lean on. They were the communication point with the trustee because Grandma forgets passwords and it is complicated. They filled out forms. They moved money as needed. If I asked questions, Dad would sigh. You do not understand how trusts work. Mom would say, we are keeping you safe from taxes. Mason would say, dude, relax. And I did relax because when you grow up in a family like this, the easiest way to survive is to go limp. I worked the late shift at the restaurant. I learned to carry 5 plates at once. I learned which booths tipped and which families brought their own ranch and stiff you for fun. I learned to smile through, hey champ, can you rush that? from a guy who called me Kyle all night. I stashed cash in an envelope under a loose floorboard in my room, because if it sat in my wallet too long, it grew legs. At home, small humiliations piled up. Mom texting, "Pick up your sister after class. You owe us." Dad using my car because his was in the shop again, then returning it with an empty tank. Mason borrowing my laptop and forgetting to return it for a week. And always the phrase like a chorus, "We are family. We share." Grandma did not visit much. She hated the way my parents spoke over her. She told me once at the bank, "I hate feeling like a checkbook with shoes." I laughed, then felt bad for laughing. She is sharp, her hands shake a little now, but her eyes are clear. When Grandpa died, she wore his watch on a ribbon around her neck and said, "We will do this right." The trust was supposed to make things simpler, not uglier. Around the time I turned 21, my parents started talking about big plans. Mason wanted to start a detailing business. No plan, no spreadsheet, just vibes. Ivy wanted a trip abroad to find herself after a rough semester. Dad wanted to expand his lot. Mom wanted to redo the kitchen. Every plan had a $sign attached. Every plan had my name in it somehow. "Caleb, you could co-sign for Mason," Dad said casually over meatloaf. "Your credit is clean." "It is a bad idea," I said. Mom frowned. "Why are you so negative?" Mason grinned. "You are the best, bro." I said I did not agree. Dad's jaw tightened. "We are discussing." I looked at Grandma's framed photo on the piano. Grandpa's face in black and white next to hers. He had that serious doctor look, like he could see through you. I wanted to ask the photo what to do. I wanted a grown-up in the room who was not already decided against me. A week after my birthday, Mom mentioned, "Grandma is sending something for you. Do not expect a lot." She was fuzzy on the amount. "Okay," I shrugged. I did not expect anything massive. Maybe a few hundred that I would put toward my breaks. Then came the $50 bill on the table. I went quiet. I kept working. I told myself, do not be weird about it. Money is awkward. Maybe Grandma kept the rest for something else. Maybe there was a misunderstanding. Maybe Mom had paid for my cake and candles, and the $50 was a top-off. The voice in my head that always scolded me said, "Stop counting, Caleb." But then Grandma came to town to see her doctor and decided to stay for dinner. She asked the question. I gave the answer and she slammed the table. In that instant, the trust was not invisible anymore. It was loud. It had sharp corners. Dad said, "Smooth as syrup, Mom. You must be mistaken." "I am not mistaken," Grandma snapped. I told Samuel, she meant the trustee, to send $10,000 to Caleb's custodial account for his 21st. It is written into the trust. It has been written for years. Mom touched her forehead like she had a headache. "We did not see that." "Then open your eyes," Grandma said. Silence pulled tight across the table. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A notification from the bank. Low balance. The irony made me want to laugh. My parents exchanged a look. Mason looked at me like I was being dramatic. Ivy looked like she wanted to disappear. Grandma said, "Calm now?" Dangerous calm. "Caleb, did anyone ask you to sign anything?" Recently, Dad jumped in. "We handle the paperwork, Mom." Grandma ignored him. "Caleb," I swallowed. "Dad wanted me to co-sign a loan for Mason." "No," I said. "Good," Grandma said, eyes on Dad. "Then do not sign anything they put in front of you." "Mom," Dad said in a voice he uses on stubborn customers. "Enough," Grandma leaned back. "No, not enough." And that was the moment I understood the thing I had been pretending not to know. The trust was not a faucet. It was a well with rules, and someone had been lowering their own bucket before mine for a long time. Grandma asked me to come by the next afternoon. No parents. "Bring your bank statements," she said. "Bring anything they have asked you to sign this year." Her voice was soft. Her jaw was set like granite. I showed up with a folder and coffee. She opened the door before I knocked. "You look tired," she said. "I work nights," I said. "We all work," she said. "Come in." We sat at her kitchen table. No cake this time, just papers. She read every line, tapping spots with her finger, making little sounds in her throat that meant she was cataloging unfairness. There were withdrawals labeled household reimbursement. There were advances for Mason's business. There was a transfer 2 weeks before my birthday for $10,000 from the trust to a joint account titled with my name and my parents'. I had never seen that account. My signature was on the form, but the signature was not mine. "Is that your handwriting?" Grandma asked. "No." She took a photo of it with her phone and sent it to someone named Samuel. Then she picked up her landline. "Come over," she said into the receiver. "Now." She hung up before the person could answer. An hour later, my parents walked in without knocking. Mason followed, hands in his hoodie. Ivy stayed in the car. Mom put on her nurse smile. Mom, what is this? Grandma did not move. Where is Caleb's $10,000? Dad laughed like we were acting. Mom, for the love of... Where is Caleb's $10,000? Grandma said again. Mason shifted it went to expenses. Whose expenses? Grandma asked, eyes never leaving Dad. Families? Dad said quickly. We had to float some things. We planned to make it right. Planned? Grandma repeated like the word was sour. Mom looked at me. Caleb, do not make a scene. I heard my own voice come out too calm. You forged my signature. Mom flinched. We handle paperwork because you are young. I am 21, I said. Dad tried the tone that always worked before. You are being ungrateful. Your grandmother has done so much. We have done so much. We put a roof over your head. We fed you. Grandma cut him off. You are not going to itemize parenting to the child you stole from. Stole? The word landed like a dropped plate. Mason threw up his hands. It is money, okay? It is not like we burned it in a barrel. We used it for the family. I am the family. I stared at him, and I am what? He looked away. Grandma folded her hands. Here is what is going to happen. You will transfer the full $10,000 to Caleb today. Not tomorrow, today. You will remove your names from any accounts with his. You will return the trustee's calls. You will stop using him as a cosigner, chauffeur, or piggy bank. Mom's voice turned sugary. Mom, you are confused. Grandma stood. Confused? I may forget where I left my reading glasses, but I do not forget theft. Dad's face hardened. We are not doing this in front of the kids. I looked at him. We already are. He took a step toward me. Watch your tone. I felt something click in me, like a door I had kept barred finally swinging open. I was not shaking. I was not yelling. I was not pleading. I was done. No, I said. I am done watching anything. I am not signing anything. I am not handing over tips. I am not co-signing. I am not covering gas. I am not lying to Grandma. If you need money, get a job that pays it. If you need help, ask honestly and accept no as an answer. Mom started to cry. The show cry, the one with no tears at first. How can you be so cruel? I pushed my chair back, the legs scraping the floor. The room went silent. Grandma exhaled long and steady. I will be calling the trustee and the attorney, she said. You can stay for coffee or you can leave, but this ends today. Dad stared at me like I had broken a spell. Mom wiped the dry cheeks. Mason muttered, drama, under his breath. I picked up my folder. I kissed Grandma's cheek. Love you, I said. She squeezed my hand. I love you too, Caleb. I walked past my parents and felt them trying to pull me back with looks, with habits, with the invisible hooks they have used all my life. They did not work. The door opened. The air outside felt like the first real breath I had taken in years. The messages started that night. 22 missed calls by midnight. 57 by morning. A long text from Mom at 3:11 ante meridiem, you broke your father's heart. Another at 3:16, we forgive you. Another at 3:18, return the car keys. I do not own their car. Dad's voicemail at 6:02 ante meridiem, we need to talk like adults. Another at 6:30, I'm coming by. Another at 6:45, answer your phone, boy. Mason's text at 12 o'clock noon, bro, you made it weird. I muted them. I went to work. I refilled iced tea. I said, no onions, to the kitchen. I smiled at tourists and scribbled checks with practiced loops. I felt hollow and weirdly light at the same time. By 4 post-meridiem, Grandma had done more in 10 hours than I had done in 10 years. She called the trustee. She froze the parents' communication privileges. She pushed for an audit. She added a separate sub-account with my name alone on it and texted me a photo of the debit card. Pick it up from me. We will set rules together, she wrote. No exclamation marks, no guilt. I biked to her house on my break and hugged her on the porch. She smelled like lemon soap. Sit, she said. Eat. She handed me a sandwich wrapped in wax paper like I was a kid again. But there was no humiliation in it, just care. We set rules. My rules, not Mom's, not Dad's, not Mason's. I would not co-sign anything. I would not front money and wait to be repaid. I would not carry silence for anyone's comfort. Grandma would talk to me directly, not through family channels. If she wanted to give me anything, it would go to the new account. If she wanted to say no, she would say no and I would accept it. Then the other rules, the ones for me, I would move out of the house in the next 30 days. I would save 1 month's rent cushion. I would stop letting my parents turn my time into theirs. I would answer only messages that used my name and a question, not guilt scripts. I found a room above the nail salon near the diner. It was small and clean, and the landlord did not care that my hours were weird. "Do not bring parties," she said. "I never bring parties," I said. She nodded. "Good." I moved in 2 trips. The first trip, Dad was waiting on the porch. "You are making a mistake," he said. "I am making a choice," I said. "You think you are better than us now?" "I think I am separate from you," I said. It sounded colder than I meant, but it was true. Mom stood behind him with a Tupperware. She did not offer me. "You will come crawling back," she said. And for the first time, I saw the script she was reading from, the one that keeps her safe. If I leave, I must fail. If I fail, she must be right. If she is right, nothing has to change. "I hope I do not," I said. "I hope none of you do." Mason leaned on the railing. "You are making it dramatic. You forged my name," I said. He rolled his eyes. That was Dad. Dad did not deny it. I carried my box to the car. It was light. Most of my life fit into one back seat. The first week alone felt like stepping off a treadmill you did not know you were on. My phone was quiet. I put it face down and did not touch it for hours at a time. I took morning walks before the heat kicked up. I learned the sound of the bakery mixer, starting up at 6:15 ante meridiem. I bought a calendar and wrote down my shifts in ink. I wrote down nothing on 2 mornings and kept them empty on purpose. Work felt different too. It was still loud and sticky and full of small, stupid crises, but it did not follow me home like a wet coat. I said no to covering Mason's friend's catering gig for exposure. I said no to Ivy's help me move a dresser into the attic at midnight. I said yes to lunch with Grandma every Tuesday. On the 3rd Tuesday, she handed me a thin envelope from Samuel. She said inside was a letter in normal person English, not legalese. It said the trust had confirmed the unauthorized transfer and would be reversing and reallocating funds according to the original terms. It said a notary would be present Friday to remove my name from any joint accounts and to record my refusal to co-sign any loans. It said I could choose a new contact for trust matters. I chose Grandma. "Thank you," I said. "You did that." Grandma said, "You told the truth out loud." I laughed once. It felt like a crime. It was the opposite, she said. That night Mom called from a different number. "Your grandmother is turning you against us," she said without hello. "No," I said, "you did that." "How can you be so ungrateful?" she asked. "We raised you." "You raised me," I said. "You did not purchase me." She started crying. Real tears. "I think we just needed help, Caleb." "I know," I said. "Ask for help. Do not take it. You could ruin this family. This family was already ruined," I said, and it felt mean and also like the only sentence with both feet on the ground. The call slowed. The guilt texts kept coming, but lost weight each time. I did not pick them up. On Sunday, the group chat lit up with a photo of Mason holding a ribbon-cutting dagger in front of a banner that said, "Mason's Mobile Detail." The caption read, "We did it, family." I liked the photo and put the phone down. It buzzed instantly with a direct message from Mason. "Loan me $3,000 for supplies." Quick turnaround. I typed, then erased 5 versions of a speech. Then I sent no. Then I turned the phone off and went for a walk. When I got back, there were 12 messages. Selfish. "You changed. Grandma's favorite now." I set my phone to only allow Grandma's calls. It felt like turning a key. There were empty spaces too. Spaces that used to be filled by errands and last-minute demands. I filled them with small things that felt like mine. I ate breakfast sitting down. I ironed my work shirt the night before instead of yanking it from the chair. I bought a cheap planner and wrote water bill and laundry and sleep in it like they were important events. I put cash in the envelope under the floorboard in the new place, not because I expected someone to take it, but because it reminded me I could keep it. Ivy texted once late, "Are you mad at me?" I wrote back, "No, I am done playing the part." She read it and did not reply. 2 days later she asked, "Will you drive me to the airport?" I sent, "No, but I will pay half your Uber." She sent a thumbs up. That felt like the first adult trade we had ever made. A week after that, Grandma took my hand across the table. "Your grandfather used to say closure is the expensive word for boundaries. You found both." "I wish I had found them earlier," I said. "You found them when you were ready," she said. "Most people never do." On payday, I logged into my new account. There was a deposit from the trust labeled 21st allocation reinstated. There was a note, use for education or tools. Tools. I stared at the word. I was not going back to school this second, but tools made sense. I bought good black non-slip shoes that did not destroy my knees. I bought a second-hand laptop that was mine. I signed up for a community college class on bookkeeping because the restaurant manager said, You have a head for systems, and maybe I do. Mom sent a long email titled Family Meeting Proposal. It had bullet points, reunification steps, transparency, rebuilding trust. In the middle, a line, Caleb will apologize for overreacting. I deleted the email. I did not write a speech about why. I just pressed delete. It felt like I dropped a sack of wet laundry. The town kept spinning, church people speculated, the car lot kept limping along, the diner kept running out of ranch. My life got very boring in ways that made my chest unclench. Every Tuesday, Grandma and I ate the same soup. She told me the same stories about Grandpa's rounds, and the first time she heard his laugh. He would have liked you speaking up, she said one afternoon. I wish he had been here to see it. He was stubborn, she said. You two would have collided. That is how steel is made. I laughed. You and your metaphors. She shrugged. I read books. I went home and filed my papers in a folder labeled mine. I am 22 now, almost 23. I still work at the restaurant, but I also do a few hours a week in the office, learning the software no one else wants to touch. I pay rent on the first. I buy groceries that do not come pre-frozen. I text Ivy memes that are not passive-aggressive. I keep my phone on Do Not Disturb for almost everyone. I answer when Grandma calls on the first ring. My parents still post photos with captions about family first. They send occasional group texts about holidays. I send back neutral answers. I do not go to meetings because meetings in our family are just ambushes with coffee. When I do see them by accident, at the store, at the gas station, we say hi like neighbors. Mom sometimes reaches for my arm, then stops. Dad tries to joke, then sighs. Mason asks for a quick favor and I say no, and he says wow. And I go on with my day. Here is the part people always want to know. Did I ever get an apology? Not a real one. I got, we were under stress. I got, you know how your father is. I got, you have always been so independent. It is fine. I used to think I needed the exact words to move forward. Now I know moving forward is the proof I do not. I did not cut them off. I cut the rope that tied my wallet, my time, and my peace to their emergencies. There is a difference. I walk into rooms without waiting for someone to hand me a roll. I do not explain my no. I do not negotiate my boundaries down to a discount version to make people comfortable. Grandma asks sometimes, do you want to change your last name? I say no, I want to change what it means when I sign it. So, here is my simple, unpretty truth. The one I wish someone had put on a fridge magnet when I was 15. I am not the family's credit card. I am not the family's driver. I am not the safety net my parents brag about when they want to look generous. I am a person. I pay my bills. I answer to my own name. I keep the $50 from my 21st folded in my wallet on purpose, not as a wound, but as a receipt. It reminds me what I used to accept and what I do not anymore. The $10,000 is long gone into tuition payments and tools, and a small cushion labeled emergencies that are actually mine. The real gift was not the money. It was the moment a woman with a trust and a spine slammed her hand on a table and refused to let me be stolen from. I'm building a small life that fits me. Tuesday soup, clean shoes, a notebook with numbers that add up, and a phone that mostly stays quiet, except for Grandma in the group chat with two of my coworkers where we argue about who makes the worst decaf. I will not allow anyone to forge my name again, on paper, in plans, or in stories they tell about me when I am not there. And if anyone asks why I pulled back, I will not send a novel. I will say the one sentence that finally set me free: this is not about revenge, this is about closure. Then I will get up, tip the busser, wipe down my own section, and go home to the life I chose. As I sit here in my small room above the nail salon, with the faint smell of acetone drifting up through the floorboards and the hum of the highway in the distance, I sometimes catch myself staring at that folded $50 bill still tucked in my wallet. It's worn now, softer than it was 2 years ago, but I keep it there like a bookmark in the chapter I finally closed. For the longest time, I carried this quiet ache, like a bruise I told myself wasn't there. I loved my family, or at least the idea of what a family should be. I wanted to be the reliable one because it felt like the only way to matter. Every time I handed over my tips, covered a bill, or stayed silent when something felt wrong, I told myself it was love, sacrifice, proof that I belonged. But it wasn't love, it was erosion. Little by little, they chipped away at the edges of who I was until I barely recognized the shape left behind. When Grandma slammed her hand on that table, something inside me broke open, not in anger but in relief. It was the first time someone saw me clearly and said out loud, "This is not okay." In that moment, I felt grief for the years I'd spent shrinking myself. and a fierce, trembling gratitude that I was finally being protected. Not rescued. I did the walking away, but defended. It hurt to realize how long I'd been waiting for permission to exist fully. Leaving wasn't triumphant at first. It was lonely. Hollow. There were nights I lay awake listening to the bakery mixer below, wondering if I'd made everything worse, if I was the selfish one after all. The guilt texts felt like hooks trying to reel me back in, and part of me wanted to swim toward them just to stop the ache. But every time I chose silence over explanation, every time I said no and meant it, a little more space opened up inside me. Space to breathe. Space to feel things that weren't borrowed from someone else's crisis. Now, at almost 23, the anger is mostly settled into something quieter. Sadness, maybe, for the family we could have been if honesty had been easier than control. I miss the version of us that existed in old photos, before the favors turned into debts and love got measured in dollars. I miss Ivy's off-key singing and even Mason's loud laugh sometimes, but I don't miss the weight of being the one who always bent. What I feel most these days is steady, like I've finally stepped onto solid ground after years on shifting sand. There's pride in the small things, paying my own rent on the first, eating breakfast without rushing out the door for someone else's emergency. Knowing my name on a document actually means me. There's joy in Tuesday soups with Grandma, in her stories, in the way she looks at me now, not as the reliable middle kid but as Caleb, whole. I used to think freedom would feel louder, more dramatic. But it's this: a quiet phone, a clean pair of work shoes, a life where no one forges my signature or my choices. It's knowing that love doesn't require disappearing. It's understanding, finally, that protecting my peace isn't cruelty. It's the first real act of love I've ever given myself. And that $50 bill? It's not a scar anymore. It's evidence. Proof that I once accepted scraps and decided I deserved more. Proof that I stood up, walked out, and built something mine. Some days, when the restaurant is slow and I'm wiping down tables between shifts, I touch the edge of my wallet and smile. Not because the story had a perfect ending, but because it had an ending I chose. And the new chapter? It's just beginning. One ordinary, unborrowed day at a time.